Hey, what up, guys? Mecha Otaku Gamer here, and I want to share with you guys some games that are very emotionally impactful on us. And with that, I have invited a few of my friends to share with you guys some games that emotionally impacted them. And before we jump into talking about some really great games, I want to share with you guys some personal ones of mine, really quick, that did not quite make the cut. You guys are actually going to be surprised by what game I personally chose over these amazing games right here. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, a game that made me fall in love with all of the side characters in this game. Man, the sub stories in this game were also very emotionally deep. Xenoblade Chronicles, I got the 3DS version here. I played the definitive edition. It is a really amazing story. It's one of the best JRPGs out there. Persona 4 Golden, which is an absolute fan favorite, and even Xenosaga Episode 3 are worth mentioning. They were very emotionally impactful on me. There are other games that were also very emotionally impactful that just stuck with me for a long time, that aren't even RPGs that are even worth mentioning, and I might even get to them in a future video. Hint hint, wink wink. So I want to share with you guys these amazing games, and to start off this video, let's go down under to a really great Australian friend of mine. Oh, and if you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, ring that notification bell, all the regular YouTube stuff, and all that. So, let's dive on into some really great, impactful games.
What's going on, guys? Uppernimbus here. So today I'd like to thank Mecha Otaku Gamer for inviting me to this collaboration of his. Now, my game choice is actually going to be a little bit controversial. It's not very popular with a lot of people, but it is to me. So my game choice is actually The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Now, you may be wondering why I've chosen this Zelda game over other Zelda games that are deemed more popular than Skyward Sword. Well, to be honest, with my little discussion here, I'm going to be talking about memories associated with Skyward Sword when I first picked up the game, rather than talking about the game's story and premise. The reason why Skyward Sword is so important to me is because the game released right at the end of my schooling life. Finally having that freedom after being at school for well over 12 years was one of the biggest reliefs of my life, and finishing off my schooling life with a brand new Zelda game, but also Skyward Sword being that game which was an introduction into my adult life, was something quite special that just lined up perfectly at the time. It was only 1 week later, after I had graduated, that The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword had released on the Nintendo Wii. I was so excited for this game, being a massive Zelda nerd, as I made my way down to my local EB Games of a Friday morning when the game released, and I had to treat myself. I went and I picked up the game. I got the little collector's edition where it was in the golden case with the golden Wii remote, and it was such an awesome start to a beautiful sunny morning. And being the naughty person that I am, I ended up walking across to the nearby McDonald's and got myself a massive McDonald's breakfast. And knowing that Skyward Sword was in my bag, ready to take home after my breakfast and play for the very first time, was so exhilarating and exciting, and I could not wait to get home and sink my teeth into The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Now, I tried everything in my power to pace through this game. I didn't want to rush my experience, so when I did play it for the first time, I had tackled a different region and dungeon each day one by one. I tried to explore every nook and cranny within this game. I think I beat the story in about 7 days after launch of the game, and oh man, it was a week of emotional excitement, and I I absolutely love the story in Skyward Sword. Yes, I know I said I wouldn't talk about the story, and that's still true, but more so the emotional roller coaster of this story in particular was something that truly resonated with me with a Zelda game that I hadn't felt before. And yes, even though the motion controls weren't that amazing and they were quite frustrating to deal with from time to time, I did not let that stop me from loving this game for what it was. And that is why The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword means so much to me and is quite significant to my gaming life. Mecha Otaku Gamer, thank you so much for inviting me on this collaboration. So until the next time, everybody, Uppernimbus is signing off.
With Xenoblade Chronicles 3, I did not expect going into it to be on such a big emotional roller coaster that it was. This game, it had everything. It had the highest of highs. The like, oh, I think I recognize that from the world of Xenoblade 1. Or, oh, I recognize that from Xenoblade 2. Like, going into the game when it was first came out, if I got into it then, I probably wouldn't have known that it was a combination of the world from 1 and 2, but that did get kind of spoiled for me. So pointing things out, that was really exciting for me, and I had a great time. But then there was, well, I think I could just dial it down to Chapter 5. I think Chapter 5 says enough if you've played Xenoblade 3.
It's been fun, Noah.
Mia! Nah, man, this game had me crying. This game had me crying. The end of Chapter 5 and into Chapter 6 was just so devastating. The whole setting is so sad and just feels hopeless. But then the Ouroboros shows hope. You know, it shows that they don't need to... This world doesn't need to keep fighting each other. That they can just live for themselves. And they don't only have to live 10 years. You know? And... you know, as you go on throughout the game, there's also all those classic Xenoblade twists and turns and craziness that happens. It's just such a great game with such a great story and such emotional moments that are really hard to forget and will really stick with you as they have me. And you know what? It was hard to beat that because Xenoblade 1 actually really tugged on the heart too, especially when Shulk and Fiora reunited. But also, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is also a very, like, heartstringy, pulley game for me. That Xenoblade 3 blowing that out of the water and being, like, a fresh game that I just played, pretty crazy.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Radbash. Special shout out to Mecha Otaku Gamer for having me on this epic collab. We're supposed to talk about a game that emotionally impacted us, and as most people know, I love the game Dark Cloud, but I'm gonna tell you the story of why. Now, when I was a kid, I was gifted a PS2 from my dad and my mom, and this was right before my dad was deploying to Iraq. And with my PlayStation 2, I got a couple games, Phantom Menace on the PlayStation 1, Kingdom Hearts, and Dark Cloud. Now, I loved watching my dad play Dark Cloud. I myself would just run around the first dungeon in the village and would just get lost. And for those who don't know what Dark Cloud is, just to clear that up real quick, it is a dungeon crawling RPG, world building, blah blah blah. It's a list of games of what this game is. It's phenomenal. It's an amazing game. I play it all the time. Have yet to beat it though, but I play it all the time. But rambles. So my dad would play it and I would watch my dad play it, and just watching him wipe out these dungeons like it was nothing was incredibly impressive. And as a kid, my dad was obviously my hero. And unfortunately, my dad did months later, ended up passing away when he deployed. And I kind of used Dark Cloud as a way for my way of coping and grieving, if that makes sense. My mom and I continued to play the game, and it kind of helped us feel a little bit closer to him because he loved this game. And it brought my mom and I together through a really rough time. And to this day, it's still, if I get down or anything like that, I'll play Dark Cloud, and it will help me remember that time in my life where I overcame something so very large, and I can overcome anything. So yeah, Moral of the story, the game that I love the most and emotionally impacted me is Dark Cloud. Again, special shout out to Mecha Otaku Gamer for having me on this, and I can't wait to see everybody else's picks.
Okay, so for my choice, this was really hard for me to think of. I was tossing between a few different games. A few of them I actually mentioned in the intro that I just really wanted to cover, but the game that really impacted me the most on not just a very emotional level, but just I have history with this game, and it's on the PlayStation 2 of old consoles to go with. PlayStation 2, if you don't know, is my favorite console of all time. So the game I went with is Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 is a very special game for me. It is one that I adored growing up, despite not actually playing it until years later when I was an adult. And I felt like it was really worth the wait. It's a really great game. It starts off kind of weird where you have like this 4-hour or 5-hour long prologue playing as Roxas, who at the time is like a new character that nobody really knew about unless you played like Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories on the GBA, and then they have that DS game that was centered around him that is tied as like a prequel to Kingdom Hearts 2, and I absolutely love this game. There is a single moment in the game that got me super pissed off, fighting off against one of the members of Organization 13, and I kind of swore off playing that game for a while, and then eventually a couple years ago I jumped back into it, beat him, and then I moved on, and I just really loved the game and how it all came together, and it had some of my favorite worlds from Disney, featuring Pirates of the Caribbean for the first time, the Pride Lands, there was Tron, there was Mulan. It is just an absolutely breathtaking game, and it's still one of my all-time favorites to this day. I loved every single bit of the game that I absorbed as a kid, and it just stayed with me up until when I played the game for the very first time. Well, thank you, everyone. So Kingdom Hearts 2 is a game that collab. I hope you emotionally guys really impacted me on a very deep level. Even though there wasn't a whole lot, the personal stories that we have with these games is something that we hold very close to our hearts, and it's the reason why we love these video games so much. Their stories, their characters, the history that we have with these games impacted us on a very emotional and deep level, and I'm glad I was able to share both my story and my friends' stories with you guys. So let me know in the comments section below, what are some games that left an impact on you guys? I would love to get a conversation going, and once again, thank you to my friends Radbash, Uppernimbus, and Brandonvinall for coming on this little collab, and I hope to have you guys and maybe some new faces in a future collab. So with that, I am Mecha Otaku Gamer, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.